In the last 7 seconds while you were watching this video, more money has been made using what I'm about to share with you than in the last 30 days on the entire internet combined. If you haven't heard of this, and I know you haven't, because like you, 99% of the population never has, then don't worry. The vast majority of the public has been left out in the dark too. The players who are trying to control this game are rich, powerful, and trust me when I say this, they don't have your best interests at heart. The top corporations in America have secretly built a new internet and are doing everything they can to keep you out. In fact, the United States Congress is on the verge of passing new laws to give them full control over this new internet. A bill known as H.R. 3261 was introduced in the United States House of Representatives on October 26, 2011, and it stands to change everything. Every website you visit, every service you use, every email you check, every move you make online could be controlled. If you think that making money online was hard before, when the new laws pass, it could be next to near impossible for the average person to make a dime online. And you, me, everyone else, we as the people are hopeless to do anything about it. Or are we? And that's why you're here. You're here because I need to get this into your hands as fast as humanly possible before it's too late. You see, recently by pure luck, I stumbled onto a little-known way to access this new internet, and by design, extract $895,899 from it in a time span of just 45 days. This is unlike anything you've ever seen before. Trust me when I say this, this is not for the faint of heart. This is a high-stakes game, and the winners keep all. Well, almost all. Why almost all? Well, that's why you're here. You see, there's a small, actually I should say tiny, function that these corporations seem to have missed out on that allows an average Joe to come in and profit from the transactions taking place on this new internet being built. These transactions are taking place every hour, every day, every minute, every second, and they're happening so fast that they count in thousands per second. And you and everyone you know are part of these transactions. This is something so controversial, something so groundbreaking, that corporate America has desperately tried to keep it hidden. And honestly, I don't expect you to believe a word I'm saying here. And I'm asking you to believe me. All that I'm asking you to do is suspend your belief and keep an open mind for a few minutes as I show you what I've been able to do with this myself. Now keep in mind that I've never shared this with anyone else except you, and the only reason I'm showing you this is because I need you to get access to this as fast as humanly possible. Now here I'm going to log into one of my online accounts. Here, let me just type in my username and password quick. Okay, now I'm going to go to reporting so you can see just exactly how much I've made here. Let me go to transactions. Now here I'm just going to pull out the last few months of stats here. I'm going to go back, click go. Now as you can see here in this account, I've already made $658,563.83 just in the last year alone. Now this is just one account. Now I'm going to log into just another account of mine so you can see similar results. So again, I'm going to enter in my username and password, click login. Now in this account, again I'm going to come up to reporting, click transaction, and I'm going to show you what I've been able to generate in this account just in the last 6 months alone. I'm going to start at the beginning of May, click go. Now you can see in this account I've already generated $719,000, and this is just in the last 6 months alone. And in both of these accounts I've generated over a total of $1.3 million just in the last year alone using this system. And these are just 2 of my accounts. I have many more where this came from. All of this was made 100% legally and ethically, and as you can see it's verified through a third party for authenticity. In fact, I could not legally share this with you if it wasn't real. And all of this, everything I just showed you is part of the shadow economy that you're already a part of, and you don't even know it. It's an economy that's bigger than Microsoft, Yahoo, or even Google combined. And those in the know want in. Now look, before I go any further, there's 2 options you have right about now. Keep on watching what I'm going to show you and use it for yourself to make money like I have, or if you have an ounce of skepticism, leave. I don't want you to waste either of our time now. Either way, it doesn't matter to me, because this isn't your typical way of making money online. No, this is far from it. Because look, deep down, we both know that just about everything you see online nowadays never works. And if you think it does, then you're just part of the other 99% of the masses that are easily controlled and manipulated and will always be left behind. Now, all of this sounds pretty obvious, right? Like I should have seen this all coming. Well, I wish. I'd like to tell you that I heard about these new laws being passed, saw the stories on the news, and put two and two together. I wish I could say that I unraveled the conspiracy, discovered the new internet, and made this money that I just showed you completely off my own back. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. Truth is, I stumbled upon this by accident, almost too late, when by chance I met a 19-year-old kid called Steven at a big internet marketing event in the UK. When I was there, we got to chatting about a talk we'd just seen at the event, and he invited me out to a fancy club in London. Apparently, a few of his buddies had reserved a VIP table there for the night, and with nothing better to do, I figured, hey, why the heck not? Little did I know, I was about to be introduced to a group of 20-something British millionaires who belonged to an elite club called the New Era. If you've never heard of the New Era Club, then you're about to, because it's a club where only an elite few and the royals are invited to hang out and increase each other's wealth and lifestyle. They're totally out of the spotlight and prefer it that way, but these are the type of guys you hear about. And that night in London when I met up with Steven at the club, I'd never seen anything like it. To be honest, it was the oddest assembly of guys I had ever seen. I was expecting some old money or banker types, or at the very least, at least professional looking guys, but these guys didn't even look like they belonged together. I first was greeted by Kieran, a slim kid that didn't look a day over 20. Quiet by nature, but he carried more jewelry than the British royal family. The kid reeked of new money. As soon as I got in the club, he ordered expensive scotch and whiskey, the most expensive they had. Not just one bottle, but 10. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. He turned and looked at me without even flinching, saying it's a normal thing. We sat down at our private table, and right away, Kieran pulled out his phone and started texting. Within a few minutes, 3 of his friends appeared, and after a few high fives and handshakes, they took their seats and they all started texting, seemingly oblivious to the rest of the VIP section. I watched in amazement as a group of stunning, long-legged models took up the remaining seats and curled up right next to these guys. But the guys barely glanced up from their phones though. They just kept texting, looking up only occasionally to show each other something on their screens, to whisper something to one of the girls sitting next to them, or to slide security a $100 tip. The rest of the time, the girls, the liquor, the music, it all seemed far less important than whatever was happening on their cell phone screens. They all had different cell phones, but they seemed to be accessing the same technology, and they had little attention for anything else. They acted as if they had an ability to print money, with total disregard for the amount of money they spent, and little did I know, they sort of really did have that ability, which I'm about to tell you here in a bit. As I got to know them, I learned these guys hung out with the British royals and celebrities. Summertime they spent in Monaco on million-dollar yachts, and in winter they skied in the Swiss Alps. But the oddest part was, there was nothing particularly special about them. They didn't seem to have any superhuman intelligence or high-level government contacts. They just seemed to have figured out something no one else had. And what's even more crazy is I never saw these guys work. All they did was tinker away on their cell phones. So I couldn't help myself. I asked Steven, where did all the money come from? I was actually scared to ask because for a second I thought they were doing something totally illegal. But then he just smiled, pulled out his cell phone, pressed a few buttons, and turned it off, and said, watch this. 22 minutes later, money was flowing right into his offshore bank account. Now, I'm not saying this is a typical result by any stretch. Heck, I'd never seen anything like it. But Steven and his New Era Club had something no one else had. And it was something that the major corporations desperately wanted and paid top dollar for. But the irony of all of this is these guys made more money than the CEOs of these corporations, but only worked a fraction of the time. Steven would even laugh that the CEOs were tripping over their own feet to give him money. But what did this group have that made them so in demand? They had a little piece of technology they developed that allowed them to tap into 5.7 billion cell phones at will through their shadow blogging technology, and that's exactly why you're here. Have you ever noticed how all the top tech companies of the world are investing all their profits into mobile, and almost no one is focusing on the regular internet anymore? And have you ever tried to make money on the regular internet and failed? If you have, the answer is simple. The era of making money online has evolved to a new platform. The world's top companies are pouring their money hard and fast into the new internet, fighting to control it. There's a reason Google beat out Apple to pay $750 million to control the mobile ad network AdMob. and why Google also paid $12 billion, yes, that's $12 billion, to control the telecom giant Motorola. They're trying to get a piece of the new internet and control everything they can. If you think the dot-com boom made people rich, then you haven't seen anything yet. That was pennies in comparison to what's about to come. Consider the magnitude of it all. For over 14 years, Bill Gates dominated the Forbes list as the richest man in the world. Then now recently, a little-known Mexican businessman by the name of Carlos Slim overtook his spot, becoming the richest man in the world, and in a single year making over $18.5 billion. But how does a Mexican businessman rise from poverty to surpass Bill Gates himself as the richest person in the world? This is what you're about to be exposed to. And if you think for a second that all of this is random coincidence, then keep watching, because everything you know is about to change. You see, the problem with these major corporations is the way they try to reach consumers. And that's why this technology created by the New Era Club was in such high demand. Most consumers are used to seeing advertisements in TV, newspapers, radio, and even on websites. But that's all old news. Mobile users are exponentially more responsive. Mobile users are proven to be over 24 times more responsive than old internet visitors. So it's easy to see why the corporations have been buying up mobile assets left and right. But there's an issue with this. The problem is actually reaching those new users of the new internet and accessing this mobile shadow economy. And if you've already tried something similar and failed, this is the reason why. It's nearly impossible to succeed if you don't have the right system like this technology. The tried and true corporate method of throwing money at a problem doesn't work anymore, and typical branding is irrelevant. Normal internet marketing is less effective. Google AdWords is blocked off for the little guy. Facebook advertising almost never works. No one buys anything on Twitter, and SEO is a fool's game. And don't even get me started on the other junk methods you've probably heard about. But in the shadow economy, things are different. Much different. And that's why these companies are willing to do anything to dominate and censor the masses away from this and keep all the profits to themselves. There's just too much money at stake. But the main hurdle is accessing this new internet. And that's exactly what this technology developed by the New Era Society does. And it's what you're about to be exposed to. It allows anyone to tap into the new internet and from anywhere in the world. This is why these New Era mobile millionaires had it so easy. Using just these tools, they had an unfair advantage above everyone else, even these CEOs. And when I first started using this mobile technology myself, honestly, my goal was to make at most $500 a day. But when I activated it, I didn't hit my goal. Instead, I blew right past it and started making thousands of dollars per day over and over again. And you've already seen my results, which speak for themselves. Now, I'm not saying this is typical. I was more than happy with it. But of course, no good deed goes unpunished. Corporations and government can't stand it when someone besides the elite 1% has a little success for themselves. Because numbers like this weren't enough for the corporations that me and the New Era Club were working with. You know how it goes in corporate America. Greed rules. And like all corporations, they got a little too greedy, and they tried to kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. So here's what happened. Me and the New Era Club found out that the corporations were trying to develop their own version of software right out from under our nose. And not only that, but they're lobbying the governments and desperately trying to control the new internet to keep this from the public eye so they can continue to profit in the shadow economy. This would be fine, but the members of the New Era Club made these corporations millions upon millions, and now they were being backstabbed. So this is their way to get back at the very corporations that tried to screw them over. And that's why they're releasing the software to the masses right now, so all hell can break loose and the little guy can finally have an unfair advantage to profit. Here's the breakdown of the technology these guys use to access this secret shadow economy, the same toolset you're about to gain access to for the first time ever. Function 1, the builder. Instead of telling someone what to do for profit, this just gives it to them. This is the core brain of the technology.